All right. Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, December 17th, about a week and a day before Christmas. We are live today. No Jason. He's not feeling too well. So give some good vibes out to Jason here. And we'll see how the show goes for the rest of the day. We got Fedora. This is actually going to be majority of Fedora is going to be spitting a lot of information that he gets from from the store that he works at, from just the stuff he reads, his age group. He's kind of right in the middle between us, Gen X, Gen Z, Millennial, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, Zulu, Niner. I don't know what the heck they're all called, but I don't even know what the dates are anymore. But we're holding up hope, Michael Baker. But thanks for watching this from work today. Hopefully it'll be a quick and fun show. Gallon TV, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while, but welcome to the show today. I'm not sure if I'll do a giveaway at the end of the show, but I do appreciate everyone coming through and supporting us. We're almost to that 500 mark, 600 or 464. I have 466, but I guess people don't like video games that much. Evils, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming in live, man. That's awesome. You guys aren't catching Evils on YouTube. Give him a follow. You can drop your link for sure. But yeah, just there's been a lot of talk of where the MCU is going. I've definitely looked at like my comic book collection, as you'll see from my eBay sales lately, and I'm just kind of getting rid of stuff that I don't think is really pertaining to like my readership or collection. I'm trying to consolidate a lot of my comics to just like 10 to maybe 25 slab books, and then like a couple short boxes here and there, just for the sake of they're not getting used and the market's down, just trying to get rid of inventory, all that. So it just, but I still enjoy comic books. I don't enjoy them as much as I used to. And, I know there's been a lot of talk about Gen X definitely still does care. And I think, kind of hit me for the show today is a lot of people have been talking about a lot of how comic book shop owners' readership is down because the stories aren't as polarizing. It seems like, whether that's true or not, my perception as well is that it's geared towards more of the later generations that seemingly don't read comic books, specifically like the big two, Marvel and DC. But Fedora brought up a really good point. He stated that there's still Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I guess. What's up, JT? JT's in the house. Best looking man on Instagram. Yeah, so he still sees people reading, or those generations reading comic books. A majority of the slides today are going to show a lot of books that we know, and a lot of books we probably don't read, and a lot of books that we actually do read that have stood the test of time. And maybe it just kind of got me thinking, maybe it's just, I think what's happened with the DC and Marvel kind of universe is they're more geared towards getting stuff on the screen. So like my perception now is that if I'm looking at a first character in a comic book, my thought process is Marvel, DC, whomever is just trying to garner they're trying to garner interest to see if the reading community likes that character. Then they'll put them to the big screen. I don't think that's really a good thing for the future of comic books specifically, because not every character is going to make it into the live action universe. And so the stories just aren't as intriguing or polarizing. I think, honestly, what Marvel should do is they should just do what they're doing at the main kind of line, and then perhaps make a Marvel Knights or a matured reader audience type of line that pertains to more of what I guess Gen X, what we like, as far as readership. And they should follow that in suit with the MCU. Fedora is in. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Yo.
He's starting his game. Manny's you guys are following Manny in the Hobgoblin Collector. He puts really good like 2-3 minute videos, kind of going through his collection and some stories. Really good stuff. Follow him on YouTube. Yeah, just trying to kind of get started. With what you're going. I wanted to show some stuff I was looking at too. As far as like what I'm buying as well.
You buying that Snatcher?
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can do it today, but maybe later. But dude, check this out. So you can count Cyberpunk 2077. This is going for like $22, like sealed. There's the comic book that came out a while back. I sold one a long time ago for like $50 and 9.8. I was just trying to. I didn't really know a lot about the comic.
Oh, you're wilding.
I know. It was just like during. I was going through stuff back then, but I bought a brand new copy for like $6 on Whatnot. I know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, what up, Ultra? Ultra's in the house. Thanks for joining. But yeah, man. I was just telling the crew that you kind of brought up a great point of okay, like Gen X. Like who's the homebro, like the comic book shop owner that was all up in arms. So what's that guy's name?
I don't know, but he's my profile picture on Instagram.
Yeah, is your profile picture on Instagram?
Yeah.
So he's like the bitter like comic book owner, right?
Yeah, I saw the podcast and I'm like, bro, like he's got like some interesting points. Like I'm not gonna say I agree with them, but I could see it. But I think that like no one wants to go to a restaurant and then have the owner tell you that their food sucks. Like that's like you go into a store, and I've heard people tell me that when you go to his shop, he just complains about shit. Like he complains and he complains and he complains, and that turns people off. Like you don't want to go to a shop and like you want people to get excited about what they're reading. Like you don't want to put like this bad aura on people like that. Now that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, he seems like he cares about the comics, but it's also like you're like, I don't know, this guy's like old, and it's like I like the days of putting up like a store in like West nowhere, and it's like people show up, like you kind of like brick and mortar in general is like dying, like period. Like we have shops in New York City that aren't even comic books that are struggling to keep the doors open. Like I used to go to like this retro game store, and it was dope. They had like arcade cabinets inside, and they were selling sealed games and things like that. And I tried to go there on when was it, like on a Saturday or a Friday. I went.
You what? Oh, I think we lost for a second. He'll come through in a little bit. I think he's probably going outside. So yeah, kind of what when we kind of think of like the show today was what are Gen Z, Gen Alpha, what are they reading? Like what are they into? Not so much what are they reading, but like what media properties they like. And Fedora, you're right, man. Like, I mean, I used to work retail for a long time, and like it was for clothing, so it was like a little different, right? But
retail is retail.
Retail's retail. Like the number one thing you want to do when you go into a store is like feel comfortable about the product you're buying. Whether and like I always kind of went to stores that, like when I bought clothing back in the day, like it was always so much of like individuality, right? And then also, how did that salesperson make me feel? But like you said, like how did the salesperson make me feel about the product they're selling? Like they'd be honest, like, oh, this is like garbage, like don't buy that, it's ugly. But this, cashmere merino sweater is like beautiful. It's made in like, Belgium with like, antelopes from the Himalayas and stuff, like shit like that, right? Yeah. And so obviously you gravitate more towards that. You try it out, if it works out for you, continue to buy that product. Kind of same thing with comic books, man. Like where I shop, my LCS, I go there because there's a dude that works there and he's super like cool. He's passionate about comic books like yourself. And he doesn't really make a big deal about, so much. I don't know. He kind of concentrates on more of the specific product that he likes. And then we kind of have that same kind of genre, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, if you're going, I guess like the one point, about stores is like, the stores that I don't go to anymore are the dudes that, one, have their comic book prices way too high, and then two, just like bitch about everything. They don't even talk about the stories. So like a lot of the people in the chat, like we all read our books, right? I swear to God, like every single time I go into a store, which is probably why people go to you, is like, oh, what's the new book this week that you've read that's really good? There's one guy in that store that knows all the knowledge about the books that came out that week. The other four just either processing or they're bitching about shit, right? That's not a very comfortable area to be in when you're like trying to buy stuff that's not needed, you know, essentially. So
anyway. and I think the good thing about Midtown Comics is that like we all have like one specific area of expertise that we know, and we're not bitching about shit, right? Like we're not complaining about, oh, this happened and like this makes me unhappy. Like I'm pretty sure like if you like sat down and have a conversation, they might air out some grievances that they have, but they're generally not trying to bring the mood down because we all work long shifts there.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to like be happy when we're working there, and we're trying to like make other people, you know, have an experience.
Yeah.
And
real quick, many know these bookstores right now. Like so you know the store you work at still open. There's another store that you mentioned last week that's really good. I forgot the name of it.
It was called Forbidden
Planet. Yeah. That's a pretty cool store. These ones though, why did they go under?
I'm gonna be honest. It's pretty hard to go up against the machine that is the place of my employment. I'm gonna be very honest, and I think that like where I'm at, they have a lot of things that they do for the customers, like rewards programs, and they have all these crazy sales online, and you know, they have sales in store every other week that are just like crazy, 40% off back issues, all this other stuff. So it's hard to compete against that when like you're like a small business, right? So it's hard to compete against a staple, you know, that everyone knows. So
yeah.
And also again, like, you know, a lot of the shops in New York City that I've been to, it's not really like a good experience. It's kind of like a dude just sitting there behind the cash register, like you know what I mean? Just like, I'm here, you know? And I guess that's okay, you know, like if you're in like the neighborhood and stuff like that. But I don't know, like I know that there's Bulletproof Comics in Brooklyn. I know a friend of mine had also opened Everyone Comics, and then he was doing really well, so he opened up another one called Anyone Comics, and that was in Queens. So there's a strong market for comics in the greater New York City area. But I think that like the huge problem is just like there's no I feel like a lot of the people who own the shops are, you know, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but you know, if you're a shop in like, I don't know, in the boonies in Boston, and it's run by like a 60-year-old guy, like you're not gonna really have a connection with like the younger generation, right? So I think that's the key that we're trying to figure out. Like, is it gonna save comic books? No, but hopefully, like if we find a way to like, you know, make the experience in the shops more better for these younger kids when they come in, I think like that's what's gonna be able to, you know, have some stability. Because where I'm at, I see things from a different lens. Like I'm in one of, you know, I spend 20 hours of my weekend in probably one of the biggest shops in the East Coast. Like I see international people come in all the time. And one of the big things they say is like, yo, man, I wish we had comic shops in Europe. That's like one of the big things that Europeans say. So there's definitely there's a huge market that wants this stuff in the UK and, you know, wherever they live, Croatia, Mexico, like I've met so many people from Italy. From, they all follow me on Instagram. Like I became cool with these people. So and I think that the market is there. They're like take it from me. I see probably over a couple hundred customers come in a day on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you guys that the readers are there. we just gotta get them, and I think that like bringing each other down and having this infighting in the community is like, that's not cool. Like that's not gonna motivate everybody on either side, whatever political spectrum you're on. I don't really care about any of that. Like we gotta drop the egos. We gotta drop the this character is written this way. Like it doesn't matter, because where that's not happening. That's not happening in Japan. That's not happening in manga. Everybody has a seat at the table. I read some crazy tweet the other day where some dude was like, "Oh, women can't write. Women can't write." And it's like, bro, like Lore Olympus is a huge comic. It's on webtoons. We sell the hell out of that, but girls come in, moms come in, like, and it's written by a woman, so
it is hitting a market. There's an appetite for it for sure.
Yeah. And
I think the argument too, or there's an argument against that, right? To where, well, females or female consumption isn't that big. Like they buy like one book and then they're out. And like, I live in Seattle, pretty, there's a lot of freedom as far as like readership and all that. I would say that there's like a lot of like female readers here. They don't necessarily like just gravitate towards like female type stories. It's more accepted to be a nerd and read comic books and like, be able to just be you or whatever. But they read like everything that you're talking about today. So I think honestly, it's more of a generational thing for,
for sure.
And like, I'm a money guy, right? So I always follow the money. Personally, you've told me this in the past, and like I see it because I go into Barnes and Noble and I go into like comic book stores. Like, there's a reason why the manga section's in the middle of the store, because everyone gravitates toward the middle of the store, and then they disperse out, right?
Yeah, because no one's arguing about any of that.
There's a reason manga's sold out versus Captain America or XYZ comic book. I think just because like people enjoy it and there's not that much of a there's not as many like mini manga stores.
Here's the crazy thing. In where I work, we don't really have that much of a manga section. So that's why I'm saying like our like the readership is there because we have like a small manga section. Could we expand it? Yeah, sure. Could we but they don't really feel like they need to because like the American stuff sells so well where we're at. So that's I just wanted to like throw that out there.
No, it's good stuff. I think obviously like this show's more geared toward like what is Gen. I'm curious. Like I'm generally curious of like what Gen X is like reading, because like when I was a kid, for Christmas, like my parents were like, "Oh, what do you want for Christmas?" And this kind of reminds me of like back in the day. And I was like, "Oh, I want Darkness #1 or Witchblade #1." It goes for like $25. That was back then. Or I wanted G.I. Joes, or I wanted like a new video game. And I think for sure, like this game, for example, right here, I think kids are more like into video games than they have been ever. And I don't know. Sure. I don't know if it's like, if I had kids, like if I'd be like, "Oh, like dad," or like, my cousin-in-law, like he has 3 boys and they all love video games, probably because their dad played video games. But they don't read comic books, but they like Miles Morales. So it's just like, it's a weird thing. Like the media is being consumed a different way. But without further ado, man, let's get into your slide. And before I do that, just want to thank the 9 Live today. I know it's fantasy football weekend. Everyone who's in the playoffs, good luck. And I hope you win and go to the championship round. I am currently probably gonna get my ass kicked this weekend. It's all good.
A nice disclaimer.
Yeah. We have a disclaimer at the bottom for Fedora, just so he doesn't have to say it repeatedly. Saved you some breath there.
Thank you.
But yeah, if you all could like, subscribe, tell all your friends. I don't know if I'm gonna do a giveaway today.
Can you try to put Red Bull?
But I think we have a 1 or 2 shows left before the end of the year. So if I don't talk to any of you guys, like either on Instagram or here, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. But yeah, let's get into the Gen X show. Give me 1 second here.
My man said Gen X.
Oh shit! Hold on. I can't. Hold on. Oh, fucking A. All right. Hold on. Try to do this. All right. You ready?
Yo, yeah. Obviously, so you know what's so crazy? I wasn't gonna put Spawn on the list, but these 18-year-old kid, he followed me on Instagram. I should probably send him the link to the show to watch it. But we were talking comics and stuff like that, and he's 18 years old and he's like an aspiring artist, and he was like, yo man, Todd McFarlane is like the best, yada yada yada, and he was really talking up Todd McFarlane, and he had a friend with him who was also talking up Todd McFarlane, and these kids were really knowledgeable on what they were talking about, and they really had like a huge passion for like, you know, comics and stuff.
Yeah.
So we were talking, and then I was just like, well, you guys don't collect, like, and they're like, nah, we just read it, you know, and we just watch the documentaries, we read the stuff online, like we don't really like buy stuff. And I was like, well, why don't you get like the first appearance of Spawn? And then they're like, no, that seems expensive. And I'm like, no, it's $40. And they were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you get a copy of Spawn #1 for $40, you know? So, and I think that like Spawn, and then they were talking about the HBO show that they saw on Spawn.
Yeah,
they said that it was really amazing, and then, you know, and then they were talking about Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane and stuff.
Wow.
And yeah. So, you know, so that's why I put Spawn on this list, is like, these kids are 18, 19 years old, whatever, right? They, so not like, they know Todd McFarlane. And I think the reason why Todd McFarlane is like so popular is just because he knows how to market himself, right? Like, he's one of those creators that kind of knows how to insert himself into relevancy. Like, he knows how to keep himself relevant. He knows how to like just be that guy. And I think that, like, you know, 10, 20 years from now, if those kids, you know, get really good jobs and serious money, that they might go, you know what? There's a million copies of Spawn #1. I really like Spawn, Todd McFarlane. You know, I idolized him when I was a teenager. And then boom, Malibu Sun. And then boom, Spawn Black and White. But I think what was really more interesting is if you could hit us with the next slide.
Oh, real quick, before you get into that, I wanted to highlight this comment real quick. Yeah, it kind of coincides too with, like, I mean, a lot of people were complaining about prices for stuff they were getting, right? Or, oh, that price isn't going to go up of that comic book. But I don't know anyone that read Ironheart 9 through 11, you know, for the story. So I think a little bit has to do. I think a little bit of the consumption has to do with the IPOs not hitting anymore. That's a really good point. But yeah, I'm gonna hit you with the next slide.
Yeah. So, and I also think that, like, when you look at like Todd McFarlane and how he keeps himself relevant, is that he merchandises himself very well, and it seems like his team and his people that license his stuff. I'm gonna turn the camera off for a second. The team in who he licenses stuff to, they know what markets to hit. Now you look at Huff, right? That's like a skater brand, right?
Yeah,
it's a brand for skaters, kids, teenagers wear it, young adults wear it. I cannot fucking tell you how many times I have seen that hoodie with a pair. Yes, that hoodie, I see it almost every time. There's at least one person wearing that hoodie. At least one. And they're wearing the Jordan 1s. They're wearing the Supreme and all these other really high, you know, expensive
high-end,
sneakers. Yeah. So when you see people throwing down $100 on a Spider-Man hoodie, because I think that's the range of the hoodie. I know the shirt is $50. I'm almost sure they're gonna go and they're gonna Google. They're gonna Google, like, oh, who's the artist that did this, because it's sick.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And that kid was wearing that shirt. when I was talking to him.
Dude.
So kids are spending their money on merchandise, on Todd McFarlane merchandise. They like Todd McFarlane. They love his art. They like his stories. They may not be Spawn fans, but they know, the Spider-Man tournament. They know a lot of stuff. So, which is why I'm saying, like, which is why I'm telling people, like, there's still kids that like this shit. It's like you're not in a major metropolitan area with like a lot of traffic of people coming in and out and yada yada yada. But Todd definitely knows how to. He knows what he's doing. He has a team that's tuned in to the streets. They know what markets to insert themselves in, and that's why I think that he's going to be relevant with kids, teenagers, adults for the next 20-30 years. So
yeah, dude, like when you put up Tom McFarlane on here, I knew a lot of people in the chat were like excited for that, or for Spawn specifically. Dude, I mean, I don't even think this is an argument. I think Spawn is probably the most influential character the past 40 years, like Marvel or DC, because like, dude, I was playing Modern Warfare the other day. I'm selling it today. I'm done with that stupid game. Anyway, that's beside the point.
Do they have a Spawn skin?
They have a Spawn skin in like a brand new game that hits like millions of people that play online, right? And that's the only skin I see. It's the only damn skin I see. Like I'll go on an online deal, like playing zombies or whatever. And there's Spawn, like every third game. And like, we talk on the headset or whatever. And like, these kids are definitely like 10, 15 years younger than me, live in their mom's basement, all that shit. But, man, I mean, I think he just, Spawn just makes so much sense. Like, because you don't really know, like, there's nothing like really political behind him. The story's very original, right? It's just a story.
I can make an argument that there is, but to some extent there's politics and everything, but I don't want to get into like the nuances of Spawn. But but as long as it's being like outright in your face, like no, not really. But you're right. I get a lot of the I don't really know I've never read Spawn, but I know who he is. Yeah. Or I don't really know Spawn, but I know Todd McFarlane. So, or I know Spawn, but I don't know Todd McFarlane. Either way, they know who the character is.
It's gonna bring them into a comic store and be like, and this is the whole point of the show today, right? Like, what's bringing that next generation into a comic store? Oh, I saw this kick-ass, art on a Huff sweatshirt that I bought. I was curious of who the writer was. I knew it was Spider-Man, but like, had it not been for the sweatshirt, they may not go into a comic book store. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. Good shit, man. I love it already.
All right, hit us with the next one. Yo, we got my man Sonic. Now, I think Sonic is always relevant is because he's got that big meme energy. He's got the big meme energy. He's got the movies. He's generational. I remember I dated a girl with a daughter, and she was 3 years old at the time, and she loved Sonic. Like Sonic, whatever, anything Sonic, she was about it. And I was like, "Hey, you want to play the Sonic games that I played when I was little?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." I loaded up the Dreamcast. I threw on Sonic Adventure 2. And she was like, "This is amazing." And she was enjoying it. She was playing it. We took her to see the movie eventually when it came out. She loved it. And, so then we got her first comic. We took her to the comic book store. And we was like, "Yo, you could pick up any comic you want." We tried to get her to take Wonder Woman, but then she was like, "Nah, I'm going to go with Sonic." So, that's her first memory of Sonic. And she probably read the book like 50 times. She just looked at the pictures and made up her own story in her head. But, there's a lot of parents and children that when they go in there and when they look at the massive wall of books, the kids immediately gravitate towards Sonic. Like it's not even like a question. Hey, what's up? It's not even like a Sonic sells, maybe not relatively to like some of the more bigger properties that we have, but for as much as we're ordering for like a shop, it sells pretty well. You know, and even the winter specials sell, the intensives sell. Like, look, the IDW 1 in 10 is $100.
Yeah,
You know, like
that was a week ago.
That's so like this is telling you, even for the newer volumes, there's a market there. There's like people that are like that are enjoying it, and I personally think that there's kids still growing up. My friend's a teacher, and he says people draw Sonic in their notebooks. You know, little kids draw Sonic inside their notebooks. They're crazy about the blue porcupine. And even adults, I mean, I never miss a Sonic. I buy every cover. I read Sonic. I buy like every book that comes out related to Sonic. I get it. So,
yeah, man. I put this in the chat, but I have a couple shops, and I just ask them questions about like what people like have, not necessarily like, oh, what's the hot seller this week, because that's like a one-time thing, right? But I always ask like when I posted, you know, I was doing a market report for a Sonic book, and I was just curious. I was like, I wonder what people actually have Sonic on their pull list. And so I was asking like, homebro, like, you know, other than like Marvel, DC, like what's the big pull list of people? And Spawn was one, and Sonic was another, which I thought was and I know I'm not gonna ask him like, oh, is it Gen X or like, you know, Gen Z, like people buying it?
But we already know. We already know. Like,
yeah, and even so, I mean, like that. What that still means is like it keeps getting like because like for a comic book store, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, like your subscriber base is like your most loyal customers, because they'll come in every week, right? So that's kind of a gauge of where you're gonna, you know, where you're gonna get like you're gonna make your orders based off your subscribers first, and then everyone else second, I'm assuming. But like, so that just kind of, you know, it's told me that Sonic is a pretty, you know, it's just not like a one and done issue. It's a pretty like popular character that people are still
and people are getting it for their kids.
So, yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. I did also ask about My Little Pony, and Pete had no subscribers for My Little Pony, so I just want to put that out there as well.
I would say, for as long as I've been working there, I've only seen maybe a few people buy My Little Pony books.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
There was one, like even the some of the 1 in 10s and stuff like that. They don't even put them behind the counter. They just sell them for like whatever. Like for like whatever. Like, yeah.
That's so funny.
It doesn't. That is funny.
It is very funny. All right, next slide. I'll hit you with the next slide.
Yeah. The boys. Man, so I know a lot of kids, like I would say like teenagers. I know this one little kid came in with his dad, and then he was like, "You got the boys?" And then I looked at his dad, and I'm like, he's like, "No, yeah, it's fine." He's like, "It's fine." Like,
that's awesome.
And I was like, "All right." So then I was showing him like all the boys comics, and then the Hero-gasm book came up, and then he was just like, I don't think you're ready for that. I don't think you're ready for that. And so I think that like, you know, so a lot of the kids, the younger kids that were watching MCU, they're all like, I want to say like how old they might be now, like 16, 17 now.
Yeah.
Like they don't care anymore, you know? So I think for them now, you know, like I feel like those kids might be over a Captain America, a Iron Man, like the Hulk, the Marvels. They're probably so over it.
Yeah.
Now they're probably looking for something that's more mature and more cool.
Yeah.
And
different shock value, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So
total shock value. Yeah.
The Boys is definitely like one of those titles that younger kids come in and ask with their parents, and I'm like, are you okay with that? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know, as long as they're reading.
Yeah.
You know, so we sell a lot of trade paperbacks of The Boys kids between the ages of 15 to 18. I think we have like a 9.8 in one of the stores. I think our store might have one. But as you could see, like that's a strong, a 9.8 sold for 400 plus. Like that's really strong. Yeah, that's
a lot.
Yeah, so I think that what you're gonna start to see is like you're gonna start to see like a lot more mature stories do really well in the market. Maybe this might even go up. You know what I'm saying? Like this might.
It might.
Yeah, I mean, because this is going to be nostalgic to like 16, 17-year-old kids that went to the comic book store with their parents and read it, you know, and it might bring them back because they might want to finish reading the series.
Or watch the show, their perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the show's very rewatchable. I mean, going back to like what your parents didn't want you to watch when you were a kid, that just made you want to watch it more. You know what I mean? And The Boys just kind of hits that. This is something that is very, I guess, a heads up to like Marvel and DC, the big two. The first 3 books we talked about are not Marvel and DC books, and they're not.
No,
The Boys is very violent, but Sonic is not. Sonic is a very like lovable character, so you don't have to like. You can just, and I think that's the kind of point that Homebro was making, in his videos about being a store owner, is that like. This is what I got from it. He's saying that these big money makers are good stories anymore. And I think it's a combination of things like, political stuff or just like, whatever. But I think some of the characters that they try to introduce, it's like Netflix. They introduce them like in one issue, it gets really hot, and then you never hear from them again for like 6 months. I think the one, and you can attest to this as well.
Dude, with Tosin?
No. This is so as much as people shit on Spider-Boy, like, dude, they introduced him in a comic book. They put out 17 different covers, which I thought, is arguably like not very good. No. But they're hitting the pavement with this new character, and like honestly,
which isn't which I don't think is the character that you should be putting that much focus into, but whatever. I mean,
but the fact that like the marketing style that like if you're gonna go into a character, you better like you better really get into it and like just keep the momentum going. And I think it's
even if it's the wrong character,
but like I mean, man, honestly, like I don't hate him. I don't like love him, but I definitely like seek him when I go to a comic book store. And younger generations do too, for whatever reason. The one thing about Spider-Boy I don't like is that he looks like a spider and turns into that spider thing. It's kind of weird.
He has the fangs. I thought
it kind of throws me off, but like it's a fun story. And it doesn't have to be blood and guts, or it doesn't have to be like, adhering to current climate of like life. It's comics are they're our escape from real life and having to work a 9 to 5 or whatever. You were gonna say what book should people be focusing on, just out of curiosity?
What do you mean? For
like you said, people shouldn't be focusing on Spider-Boy. They should focus.
No, I'm saying like Marvel shouldn't be putting like Marvel, like that character was like not, like if you're gonna focus on a Spider character, I don't think it should have been Spider-Boy, but I guess they didn't really anticipate some of the other Spider people that were popular. But you can hit us with the next slide.
For sure. Yes.
So one of those kids said that he really likes Ryan Otley. So we were talking about Ryan Otley.
So he said he liked Ryan Otley, the artist, specifically. Correct?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
And so this is also like interesting because Invincible was kind of like a story that no one really cared about as it was coming out.
Yep.
And I think that it finally found a good studio to handle it in animation. And I think that the reason why Invincible does so well is because this is kind of like, in my opinion, I feel like this is kind of taking a page out of Japan's book, where they find a comic that was kind of successful, and then they animate it, and then they go, okay, this is like we're gonna put all our budget in this animation, and if you want to read the comic. Right. And I think that, you know, that like if this was like a live action, I don't know if it would have been as successful as it was, as it is, because you know, when you animate stuff, you have more creative liberties to do stuff, right? You know, as opposed to live action, because sometimes it looks corny, you might not have the right budget. But I think Invincible, I've only read like the first few issues, and I've only seen like an episode, but it's really good. And I think Marvel should honestly animate their stories, like do like a King in Black animated show.
My God, please.
You know what I'm saying? Do like, I feel like, you know, what's been the most successful formula for like manga, when they turn it into anime, and then people go, oh wow, the anime is really good, let me go to Barnes and Nobles, or let me go to Midtown Comics, or let me go to Forbidden Planet, and let me read. Like I want to know what's going to happen in the second season. And I think that if they adapted, you know, the stories of these comics into animation and follow the stories, I think that you could get people into comic book stores, because I see it with anime all the time. I see people that come in that are like, yo, I just saw Jujutsu Kaisen. Yeah. I got to know what happens next.
And they want to read it, and, you know, whatever. To add on to Invincible, this is my favorite pick out of all the picks that you have. So I never got into Invincible, because like when it really got hot was when like there was like a bunch of Whatnot variants on it, and like this book was going for like 8K, or I don't know if it's going for that much, but there was a lot of stuff, and I didn't really read it. And then I watched the show, and I was like, wow, I get why people are so hyped for the show. I went into a couple stores yesterday. I was at the mall, and there's this really big store, kind of like they have a couple chains around here, and they do pretty well. But they sell a lot of newer stuff. They don't have old stuff. So a lot of the reader base is like dependent on people coming in, you know, traffic. I bet the holidays are super busy. And so I went in there, and I was trying to find the compendium for Invincible. And not only number 1 was sold out, but 2. All they had was 3. And they only had 1 left out of 10. So I asked the dude. So like, obviously this has gotten a lot of press because the Amazon show has done so well. But like you said, man, people are watching the show. They hear it from someone at school or wherever they're at, and they're picking it up. And they're not just buying individual issues, because it's so hard to get individual issues anyway. They want to read the whole fucking thing, man, which is like exciting to me as like a.
There was one kid that came to the store. Yeah. And we didn't have no more Invincible Volume 1s. And the only thing that we had like a toy with Volume 1 inside of it.
Oh, funny.
And then he was like, you know what, just give me the toy. Like, he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't care. Just give me the toy. Like, I just want to read it.
He just wanted to read it.
Yeah. The compendium sell out. You know, we don't really have many number 1 volume 1s, and because they're just so hard to keep in stock.
They are.
That, and I would say The Last Ronin, like those Invincible 1 and Last Ronin 1, we'll get a brand new shipment of Last Ronins, and by the end of the week, 20 of them will be gone.
Wow.
So, you know, I would say the top highest selling trade paperbacks right now is Invincible 1 and The Last Ronin. So I wanted to put The Last Ronin on the list, but
let's talk about it.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like a lot of little kids know of The Last Ronin just because they heard about it, but they haven't read it yet. So I know that like a lot of millennials like myself, like they know what The Last Ronin is, but I didn't put it on the list is because I'm not too sure if I know kids know what Ninja Turtles are,
Oh yeah, of
but
course, yeah.
I'm not too sure like if they're as tuned in to the because I feel like it was big on a mainstream level for like people that were like kind of already like it's hard to describe. Like a lot of people knew about it, but younger kids didn't know about it. So
Gotcha.
I'm wondering if when the game comes out, then I'll feel like I'll start to see like, you know, if a lot of kids start coming in and asking for it. So like that's the thing. Like I want to wait until we get more news about the game, hype
Yeah.
builds for the game.
Right.
Then we'll see like I'll have like a concrete idea. So far it looks like younger kids might be into it, but um for like right now I only see people like late 20s, early 30s go crazy for the last Ronin. So
here's a good question for you. Whatever happened is something is killing the children. Anyone ask for that?
Last time I heard, James Tynan said that it was still happening. I don't really know if.
Do people seek something that's killing the children? It's kind of off. Yeah.
No. I know a lot of people still buy it like monthly. I know it still sells a pretty decent amount, but I don't know. I just think that like that title, it should have ended a while ago for me. Like I don't know. Like then they got House of Slaughter and all that other stuff. I felt like it just should have ended. I know that we still sell the volumes and people buy it, but we don't really get a lot of them in these days. And yeah, I don't know. It like long story short, it's there, it sells, but nobody's really excited about it anymore. I think we've all moved on. I think the Netflix show needs to come out before we really see like if people really care.
I think a show is like a dumb idea. I think an animated show, like you stated, is a way better idea for that comic, for that story.
Yeah, I agree.
Because like, yeah, I mean, just to kind of add on, yeah, man. I mean, after getting into the couple seasons of Invincible season 2, I think what's really cool about this book is that it's very collectible. Oh, thanks, Comics Embrace. Thanks for coming through, man. Yeah, appreciate your support, dog. I think it's like, so obviously the readership's there because obviously I can't get a first, compendium or even a number 2, unless I special order it. And yeah, I think it's a great show. It's highly collectible. It's very expensive to get the key issues in this book. There's a ton of really great characters. I think what Robert Kirkman does really well is he creates these universes, and he's really good at character development. And that's what keeps people in or that's what keeps readers is they, to create the characters. Not so much having like a relationship or familiarity with them, but like the development of characters is what's always does really well for shows and for comic books. So good stuff, man. Board games, manga, yeah, everything manga, dude. Department of Truth is better than. Yeah. I don't know. I would say it's more my take, but I think both are not very good. That's just my opinion about both.
Damn,
titles.
yo, you got the hot opinion, bro.
Yeah.
I liked I think Department of Truth, like if it turns into a show or something, I think that it could be really good. Mainly because like it kind of hits like what I feel like America is kind of like about now, like weird conspiracy theories, like flat earthers, and just like it. I think it'll do well. I like both equally, so I don't know. I don't really know if one is better than the other, but I think that they're both solid in their own right.
Yeah, no, it's just not my cup of tea. I think the reason I don't like Department of Truth is just because like X-Files was like the show me and my mom used to watch together, and I feel like it has like if X-Files like went just way down a rabbit hole, that's what Department of Truth is for me. and it's just not as an original idea. But that's just my bias because I loved X-Files, and I still I'll rewatch it to this day. But anyway, good stuff, good discussion, everyone. I want to again thank. We're about almost an hour in, almost done with the show. We got 13 live at this onset, so thanks so much, man. That means a lot. You know, if we get anything over 15, I'm stoked. But 13 is great. A great discussion. I think this is a really, I won't say important like discussion, but I think it's a great discussion to have, just with like kind of everyone's opinion, kind of seeing the market on the ground, and then just like from what we see online, and just kind of like exploring like what reasons or what people are reading and what generations are reading what. If you guys again hit that like button, it helps with the algorithm to get, you know, people to watch our show and all that stuff. The more people we get live, the bigger giveaways I'll do. Today I just don't have the time to do giveaway, so unfortunately no giveaway today. But next week we'll try to do one. And I want to give a shout out to Michael Baker. I don't know if he's in the chat, but he did send me a graded 9.8 comic book, which we will give away at the 500 subscriber base. We're only at 464 at this point, but man, 464 is like 200 more than I thought we would get like 6 months ago. So I want to thank Fedora for the slides today. I want to thank the crew. Jason, you can go fuck yourself. You're not sick. You're just watching football and you're hungover. Just kidding. No, we hope you get better soon. I gotta go see Godzilla with him, so I can't talk too much shit. But yeah, that's why he's not here today. Static Shock. All right, first DC book.
Yeah, well, a milestone, but yeah. So I kind of got a funny story about this. A customer came in once, right? Mm-hmm. And it was my day off. I was in my FedEx uniform, and so the customer buys a bunch of Static Shock books, then he leaves. So one of my coworkers was behind the register. He tells my manager, he's like, yo, you know that's the creator of Static Shock? And then she turns around and she was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, that's the creator of Static Shock. And then the other manager was like, you do realize the creator of Static Shock is dead, right?
Yeah.
And then he was like, really? And then they were like, yeah. And then he goes, you really believe that Flatfoot that said he's the creator of Static Shock? And then he was like, you know, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I did. You know, like, sorry, guys.
Yeah,
And then we had to get to the bottom of it. So I was like, bruh. And then, so not to toot my own horn, but
yeah.
I know somebody that used to work for Milestone. Okay. He knew me when I was a little kid. So I gave him a call and I was like, hey pal, like, you know who this guy is? And he's like, oh, yeah, like he just says that. Like, don't believe him. Like, he's just like, I don't. But anyway, once people start doing things like that, I feel like you have like an iconic character on your hands. Like, once people go out of their way to lie and say, I'm the creator of Static Shock, like, you know, you have the magic. So obviously, I guess for Static Shock is Platinum Edition or bust at this point, you know? And Platinum Editions were selling for like $20 on eBay, like, before the Michael B. Jordan news was announced that he was involved with it. So if you missed out on it, rip. $600. I think it sold for like $1,200 at one point when the announcement for the movie came out. So it's down 50%. So it looks like it's still a pretty good buy. Like, if you're gonna buy something, and this was like November 19th, 2023. So I think Static Shock he's like a sleeping giant, and one good movie could put him up there. Put him up there with Black Panther, Miles Morales, and it's one of the DC titles, in my opinion. Well, not in my opinion, but in my area, because I live in a major metropolitan area. So I know Static Shock sells really, really well in my area. So he consistently sells, and he's had his series for like, I don't know, like a couple years now. and they recently gave him the suit that resembles the animated show. So there's a lot
Yes.
of nostalgia for this guy, and I think one good movie could take this book from 600 back to 1200, in my opinion.
Evil, where do you live? Just out of curiosity, I'm curious because it's all regional, right? This is like another great pick you had. I will make an argument, and I guess it's more preference, right? And I don't know if Kingdom of Comics is in the chat, but he may share the sentiment with me. I feel that Static 45 is the book to get out of all the Static shops. This, however, right. It's like his first appearance, right? It's the platinum edition. It's super fucking hard to get in 9.8. Colorado, okay, Midwest. Okay, that's I mean,
that's crazy.
I think what is it? Something of the Cool, or I forgot the series in 2000s. That's another good series to get just to read. It was pretty cool. It's like a 4-issue miniseries. The current run on Static Shock is my favorite book. I'm a subscriber. Shadows of Dakota. I'm just praying they don't stop the run because it's really cool. There's a really dark character in the.
I don't think they are.
I hope they don't, man. It sells. Really well. I love it, man. It's like I don't even give a shit. Like it's one of the books that like when books come out monthly, right? So I always like if I'm really into like a story, like I'll reread the previous issue, so I'm kind of like caught up with like memory and stuff, right? But man, I really hope Static Shock gets its due. Other than Swordmaster, this is like my DC like hope. Not so much spec, but like hope, and like I'm invested very heavily into Static Shock. I sent an issue 45 to CGC to get signed by Dennis Cowan. He's one of the original like founders of Milestone. Obviously, Static Shock writer. He's passed away a while back, but rest in peace. But yeah, dude, and this is another thing about and Static Shock's a DC imprint, right? But it's kind of like it's Milestone or whatever, right? It's a fucking sad ass fucking book. It's a really greatly written book. It reminds me of the Invincible Iron Man Ironheart run where she loses a relative. I think her dad, or not her dad. It's like an uncle or something in a shooting. Kind of the same kind of genre, or just like, and you don't have to read old school Static Shock to get into this new series. Fedora, do kids ask for this book at all?
No.
Oh. What kind of customer would ask for Static Shock?
I would say anywhere between the early 20s and up.
Early 20s and up?
Yeah. There's like people that know. I know he has like a huge like online presence. Like I know it sells well for like people that are like for millennials. I would just say like millennials in general, like really into Static Shock. But I know his online presence is like super, super crazy. Like, people who don't even read comics share Static Shock art. And like I remember when they did like the redesign, a lot of my friends who don't read comics were like sharing it on Facebook. Or there was like another time where James Gunn mentioned Milestone, and like everybody was like, oh shit, like are we getting Static Shock?
Yeah.
And he had made like a tweet from like a fan, because the fan was like, yo, like are you gonna do any Milestone and Wildstorm characters? And then James Gunn was essentially like, yeah, like we have plans to do those characters too, something along those lines. Right. And everybody was like going crazy on the internet.
Yeah.
So if James Gunn acknowledges Milestone, then this needs to be here, I feel like.
100%, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great pick, man. And we haven't even got any Marvel picks yet, but don't worry.
No.
Don't worry.
Yeah, not yet.
Don't worry, we got a good one. Yeah. You've talked about this in the past, but like let's get into it.
I keep like hammering this. Like I think SpiderPunk is if SpiderPunk got the machine behind him like Spider-Boy did, I think these prices would be a lot higher. But for now, 150 for like a near mint, and that's like November 20th. This is like fairly recent.
Yeah,
I think that's really, really healthy. And it's so crazy. Like I was like looking for it, and there's not many up online.
Mm-hmm.
Like
no one's selling
usually graded 9.8. I have one graded 9.8, and no one is selling it. So, and we all know what that means. That means that everyone knows that this character is a smash, and they're just waiting for the right time to put it back up. So, you know, for as popular as SpiderPunk is, for only one in 50 to be sold, like this past month,
tough 982, man.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Yeah,
the paper was atrocious on that 1 in 50.
Both these books, the SpiderPunk #1 Takashi, stupid paper. Super hard in 98. Yeah. So no, I love this pick, dude. I freaking love it. But
I would get the Del Auto, the 1 in 25.
That cover's super. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice. I need to get my 1 in 50 grade. Oh shit. Okay. Hey, Trev is in the chat. You guys gotta join Trev later tonight. I think Trev, you're going at 6 p.m. Pacific time or whatnot. I always get you and Black Crown. Like I always try to get you guys simultaneously casted. But yeah, come through and join Trev later tonight. I like the Delato too because it has all the spiders on the cover. All those covers of that Amazing Spider-Man #10 are pretty cool regardless, but like $500, man, in this economy, that's a pretty good. Like 400, I could see, like I would pay that for that book. I just got too much money spread around, but yeah, that SpiderPunk #1 is just a great cover regardless. You know what's funny is SpiderPunk hasn't shown up in any of the Spider-Man games, but Null references do, which I thought was really. I guess it kind of makes sense if you play the game, but like, if SpiderPunk was like Best Supporting Actor, like he should get nominated for Best Supporting Actor award for his role in the movie, because there's so many freaking Spider characters in that movie. But SpiderPunk, dude, he stole the show without barely saying anything, I thought he was great. So
I think he is too. And 500 for like a degraded 9.8 and 150 raw, it shows that like people believe in the character. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And this is the price that it was going for originally when it first came out. When the FOMO was crazy, and I had first bought the 1 in 50. I bought it for like $40. I remember like the FOMO prices at 150. Mm-hmm. Now it's back to FOMO prices.
Yeah.
So, and it's very, very rare where we see books dip and then go back to the original price that they were when they first released. That's like, I've never seen that before. Well, actually, I have one book, but
you probably have. But like the timing wise, right? When this book came out, it was like the market was kind of a downturn, and then it really turned down, and now it's kind of back up. And then so at that point, people are like, okay, I got it at 150. It's now XYZ amount, or like I saw it for 150, and now it's XYZ amount. There's some books that just will never recover. Like they're just like NFTs, like those never recover. But there's books from that time period that people are going to be like, fuck, I would have paid 70 for that book, but not like 150. I'll pay 65 for it or 60, right? And there's other books that just will never I'll never pay like whatever. But you get my point. And better than SpiderPunk, yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
I had a friend that texted me and he was like, yo, like, he was telling me about Henry, the guy that had gifted me the notebook, he gave me a text. He has my phone number now, so we're friends. He texted me and he was telling me, he's like, yo man, like I think I'm gonna pre-order the new SpiderPunk series, and I'm gonna pre-order all the Takashi Ozaki variants, and I think that might be like a good move to just pretty much just buy. I don't really know what the print run is going to be like for this character, but I do know that all the trade paperbacks sold out in our stores. They still do have some in Forbidden Planet, and they bought like a pallet of those things when it first came out. Yeah, they still have them down there. Yo, who's talking about Tosin, bro? Now, this is the only character. I was gonna put Miles on this list, but it's like we already know, like we don't need to talk about that. But
well, let me ask you real quick. Okay, so talking about money wise, right? Do you think there's more upside in this ASM number 10 or a regular UF4 9.8?
Oh, that's hard, right?
Yeah, right.
It just depends, like on. I feel like the next movie SpiderPunk comes out in, like we'll find out. Like that's to be announced. It's to be announced. I don't know yet. Like once this next movie comes out, and when we see like what it's coming out 2025.
Gosh, I don't know, something like that. Maybe 2026. Yeah. Who knows, right?
Yeah, when the next movie comes out, we'll see if SpiderPunk is still that guy. You know, if he's still that guy when the movie comes out, because it looks like he's gonna have like a larger role in the sequel. He's gonna be more prevalent, and then we'll see. Maybe he'll get like his own spin-off show. Maybe he'll, you know, they're gonna do something with him. Sony, I'm pretty sure at this point they realize, you know, oh shit, we got like a hit, you know, so we're gonna see. So right now, I still think Miles is the man. Everybody buys Miles. Miles is selling more than I could only say this in my area than Peter Parker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Miles is that guy. I was just thinking like, will this ever hit 1,000 versus will UF4 ever hit 2K again? That's a question. I think. Anyway, I think it's more likely that this will hit 1,000 than UF4 will hit $2,000. However, yeah, if you're gonna have a book that's gonna define the next 10 years of comic book characters, UF4 is the book to get, in my opinion. So, just as far as a collectability standpoint, I would rather have this though, personally.
Did you like how he like swings away?
I did. I was sick.
Yeah, thank you.
You destroyed on these.
Yeah,
slides,
thanks. So this is an honorable mention. Godzilla. So the reason why I give it an honorable mention is because there's this one customer and he comes in with his kids, and his older son is like obsessed with Godzilla. He knows all the stuff about Godzilla. He knows all the characters' names. He watches the movies. And his dad was like, yeah, I showed him one Godzilla movie and it just took off. So he's reading the comics. He's reading, you know, so he kind of inspired me to like, and then I have another friend, she has a son and he's like really into like Jurassic Park and dinosaurs and shit like that. So that got me thinking like with the new -1 movie, I was wondering like, I want to keep an eye on it. So, because I want to see how, like, if kids are, like, actually really into, like, Godzilla, and how that like, what his place in America here will be for, like, the younger generation. And $550 for a 9.8.
Of a classic Bronze Age, quote unquote, book, man.
That's pretty high. That's pretty high. So, you know, and then the Gorgo book. I don't know if you know Gorgo.
No.
Steve Ditko did like a knockoff Godzilla called Gorgo back in the day. I think he just drew it or something. Yeah. And we had gotten the new graphic novels of like Gorgo, and they've been selling pretty well. And then there's like another knockoff of King Kong called Konga, whatever. But people have been buying those, so I was like, that's interesting. So you know, there's a little bit of you know, Godzilla hype. So I don't know if it's like hype or potential, but could be potential. And I didn't add the other slide, but I wanted to, now this is an honorable mention. The Crow. I think that that's like a good book to get because there's still a lot of like teenage kids, teenage alternative, teenage goth kids that listen to Deftones and Korn and all this other stuff, and then they're like, man, they come into the shop and they go, yo, do you have any Crow comics? And I'm like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you know here's thinking like you know how we always talk about like people don't like to talk to each other anymore, right? And it's all everything's online, transactional based. The fact that kids are going up to you and asking for stuff, and I know New York's a little bit more. You guys aren't as passive as we are on the West Coast, but the fact that people are going up and asking you, not just looking for it, but they're like they want to know if it's at your store, and they're being more aggressive. This is probably just kind of overthinking it, but just the fact that they're going up to you and asking you specifically and telling you what they're looking for, that also speaks volumes to me that they really want that property or that media, which I think is really important too, right?
We had a lot of Crow Funko Pops, and they like sold out. You
I
know,
fucking hate
so
Funko Pops.
I know, me too, but
oh my god, but that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's just
yeah,
me. That's just me.
We had Crow Hot Toys, and those sold pretty well. We had like Crow little mini statues; those sold really. The Diamond Selects, those sold well. So I feel like there's a market for the Crow, and I think that like it all hinges. The future of the Crow hinges on this movie. If the movie is successful, the Crow is the property is going to go up. If it doesn't do well, it's always going to stay as that like low key cult.
It's
classic.
just not gonna bring in new fans.
So,
Why do I hate Funko? Just my personal thing. It's vinyl toys that don't have any like. It's just, I mean, there's no detail to it, and
they all look
like
the same.
Every store has it. Funko is based in Washington. I live 20 minutes away from the Funko like palace. The place is pretty cool, but man, I fucking can't stand Funko. I'm sorry. Like,
fair enough.
No hate on anyone that does NFTs. I mean, like maybe one day, but I'd rather buy a Star Wars NFT than a Funko NFT. You're talking about Godzilla. Everyone got really excited about when you're talking about Godzilla. So -1, I mean, that's got a lot of like just word of mouth like hype, and I'm gonna go see it eventually one of these days. What I think is really cool is the Apple One show or the Apple show. I know a lot of people like the reason they like the -1 movie is because it concentrates more on Godzilla versus the people, but not fucking true. But yeah, I think it's just whatever universe that Godzilla is trying to hit, like for whatever reason, every single media that they're putting out right now is hitting. I think the show is great. It talks more about the history. I just like origin stories in general, but it's a really good show. So if you guys aren't catching it on Apple, like definitely watch it.
They did an advanced screening at the Japan Society in New York City.
Uh-huh.
And I know that some of like the staff, like the corporate staff at cool. Midtown Comics had went there. Mm-hmm. And my ex, who's from Japan, she was there only because she does work with like the United Nations and stuff like that. So she got like advanced screening tickets and things like that too. That's so bad. Yeah, I know like a lot of people, a lot of younger kids are into, I mean, I used to watch the cartoon in the early 2000s that came out. That was kind of mid. So I'm not a big Godzilla fan, but I know who he is. And I feel like a lot of people know who he is. And I kind of feel like that's always enough to carry a property. Like, even if you just know what it is, right? There's like always potential. Mm-hmm. So I feel like Godzilla is like reestablishing himself to the mainstream as like, we know who he is, but now he's kind of relevant.
Yeah. The movies were great too. Like the one 2014 that came out, 2019, 2021, I want to say 2020. Maybe 2022. I enjoyed all of them. They're on Netflix. You guys can watch them for like if you want to stay in the world of the Apple one or the Apple show. Another thing too is like, so a lot of us a lot of us have been complaining about Marvel and DC, like the studios not doing very well in like what they're bringing to their big screen lately. Dude, Apple and Amazon, I mean, with The Boys and with this Godzilla show, I think I'm 100% like Netflix is always 50-50 for me because I just can't rely on them. But like when Amazon puts out a show on their platform, when Apple puts out a show on their platform, this is just not just comic book talk, but just talk in general when you're watching stuff. It's worth every penny, in my opinion, that you're paying to watch these shows.
They they can't afford to fuck up, right? Like
yeah, and like, you know, honestly, like, I mean, it kind of just goes in their core belief of the companies, right? Like they just want to put out good customer experiences. Ted Lasso is honestly like arguably the best show I've watched in the past 5 years, and that's like their crown jewel, and it's a comedy. I don't really like comedies. But yeah, most people think 3M is a tape company. When Fedora's around, it stands for mid, mook, or mop. You need to get a t-shirt that says that, dude.
We're gonna do the merch. We're gonna do the podcast merch, and we're gonna have our own merch.
Yeah, you're just gonna be don't be a mook, or like, you know, or like you got mopped. Don't get mopped.
It's gonna be a CGC slab, and then it's gonna have 9.8, and then inside like the blue, it's gonna say like mook #1. And it's like yeah.
And it's gonna have a picture of that dude from the comic book shop that's on.
Yeah. And he's just like yeah.
Just like yelling and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a mook. He brings up some good points, but he's a mook. Like don't.
He's very angry in that video.
Bro, he's so like, bro, like, look, I'm not personally attacking anybody, but you gotta shop in like the middle of nowhere, guy. Like what are you what are you really doing, bro? What do you really, you gotta shop in the middle of nowhere. Like what do you really think that people are gonna come to your rink dink operation and do anything? Like, you know what I mean? Like, get out of here, bro. Like get out and like it's just like you can't even. I don't know, man. That guy's like he's a weirdo.
Yeah.
He's overweight. He's got missing teeth. He probably smells. Like
he
like,
definitely smells in that video, dude. He definitely smells. I don't. Yeah, I'd like to add, you can put her on the podcast. Just kidding. JT,
but like, just to finish this, I'm going on a little bit of a rant.
No, you're good.
You can't even say I'm just some random guy ranting in my basement. I'm outside. You could call me homeless, whatever. I don't care. But listen, guy, like you're angry at the wrong people. Imagine like I went to a video game store, and then the video game owner was telling me video games sucked, and the reason why the video games aren't selling is because of the developers. It's like, my guy, like, there's not any video games in there that you know that are good that you could sell. Like what are you doing? Like, I had somebody come up to me the other day and they was like, yo, what's the worst comic you've read this year? And I can't tell you that because I only think about good comics. So it's like, I don't focus on books that are bad. I focus on books that are good, and I tell my friends about it. Mm-hmm. I tell people about it. Read this. It's good. It's great. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't, whatever. Tell me what's good. You know, I want to know what's good too. So you're over here spreading mad negativity because, I don't know, like maybe you can't get laid. Maybe you're having a rough time. Maybe your shop isn't making money. You know what I'm saying? But look, we don't have time. If the community is losing customers and stuff like that, the last thing we want to do is be like that guy. Mm-hmm. We gotta be united. We gotta be like, yo, bro, like, there's this shop on Abu Ghal on the corner of Momo Street. You know, support that guy because and buy this specific book. You know, and to say that, like, oh, he said something like, oh, writers don't care about the characters anymore. Like, I'm not gonna say what writers come into the shop, but I've met, shaken hands, and had conversations with stud writers. And when I'm a musician, so when I see passion, I know it. These people that come in, they fucking talk about the books. They care about these characters. You know what I'm saying? They care about their work. They care. It's a
responsibility for them to like put out good stuff, right?
Yeah. I met one of the writers because they relaunched Gold Key. And they did like this Boris Karloff book. I met that writer. He was a really nice guy, you know. But I've also met some like top tier Marvel writers. Like, you know, so to say that like, oh, these guys don't care. They care, bro. They care. It's just you can't be speaking negative and bringing bringing them down. You know, like find a title you like and recommend it to people.
Yeah.
I recommend my friends titles all the time. Being in like some rink-a-dink shop in the middle of in a cabin in the woods, crying because your favorite character is whatever you don't want him to be. That does nothing for anybody. Doesn't do anything for your shop. Doesn't do anything for our community.
It definitely doesn't do anything for your shop. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. So it's like, bro, like, give people a happy experience. Make them walk away with something good instead of just bashing it. And you know, manga is doing so well because everybody has a seat at the table. There's publishers that are just dedicated to only women writers, right? And they do well, and they do fantastic, and they sell hundreds and hundreds and thousands of books.
It's that market.
Yeah. So it's like, if they could be united and they could, you know, oh, I don't care what this guy writes about, I'm just gonna write what I write. Let them be in their own bubble.
Yeah.
You know, let these people cook. You over here crying. Anyways.
And then if it doesn't work out, you know, then I guess it's up to the company to get rid of that person, right? I mean, ultimately it's about performance of like the employee, the writer, and in your kind of example.
Yeah.
But until that happens, right? I think with that particular shop owner, either one, he did really good in 2021, 2022. I did great in 2020, 2021, 2022. I did amazing. I still love my job, but I don't complain about the stuff that I can't really control. You just have to make adjustments, right? And as you know, I don't know if it's his clientele is specifically Marvel and DC, like the big two, and his clientele isn't in that market. That's probably why he's upset. You either have to shift out of that market or stay in there and die. And I think that's what he's probably seen, is that like his and I'm just making assumptions, right? Maybe like I've seen this throughout stores that have lasted the past 20 or 15 years, whether they're making $1 million a year or $100,000 a year, whatever it is. Their stores have adjusted. There was a Pog section one for like 2 years. People don't buy Pogs anymore. Now there's like a specific Pokemon section.
Remember Hot Topic?
Yeah. Oh hell yeah.
Remember how they shifted to the market?
Not really, but
so Hot Topic, when I was a kid, or young teenager, it just used to sell like goth stuff, because goth stuff was in it. They sold like heavy metal clothing, heavy metal t-shirt. It was very, very gothic. Now, when it was coming into the early 2000s, they saw like, oh shit, pop culture is getting big. So they started making that shift in like 2008, 2009. They started bringing in Funkos, Marvel stuff, toys, collectibles. They were doing this when the first Iron Man movie came out. That's when they started making that shift, because they saw, oh, this pop culture stuff is kind of getting popping, no pun intended. And then they were like, then they adjusted to like the market, and they didn't go out of business like a lot of these other companies.
Stores.
Yeah, it did. Like we had a similar store called Yellow Rat Bastard in NYC. Doesn't exist anymore because they didn't want to adjust. They thought that they were gonna, you know, adhere to like the metalheads for like forever. Yeah. And that's Hot Topic is like the best example of a company that saw the shift in the market and followed it as early as possible. You like, these guys are still depending on, like, no offense to you guys, I'm not trying to insult you, to the boomers and the Gen X. Like, we can't keep writing stories for these people. Like, that market is shrinking for you. But anyways, as you were saying.
Would you make an argument, though, just speaking for my Gen X homies, is the majority, though, of people that are buying today, so the next 3 to 5 years, are Gen X?
Yeah, for sure.
55-year-olds, right? Yeah. So that's a tough thing too, right? Because there's like, well, I think the argument on the other side is that, and I'm not going to talk like social groups or anything like that. I'm just going to talk specifically like age groups. Is that the books that we are quote unquote reading now, they don't have that same flavor that they used to. The argument to that, though, is like, obviously Invincible, I think it's a fucking awesome like book. Albeit there hasn't been any new stuff So here's the other thing too. The new stuff isn't being pushed, or sorry, the new stuff that's coming out that's keeping people in shops going to every day, that's lacking in story, I think, personally, from what I've read. But it's kind of hard to like deviate away from the big two, right? There's also that argument. People are just gonna buy Marvel and DC. You can't convince them to buy other stuff otherwise.
Yeah, no,
But,
for sure. I think for me is that like I see things from a different lens where it's just
sure.
like
Yeah.
I see a lot of kids coming in. I see just because of where I'm attached to, it has like a name. So we're always gonna get everybody. So I see the potential that we have. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're in the boonies somewhere and you're not getting any customers, you know, like you don't see the perspective that I see. I see kids coming in, you know, like we have regulars that were born in like 2005 and 2008. Speaking of the teenagers that come in every weekend to come in and pick up, you know, these books, and I talk to them and all this other stuff. So I see the potential that we have in the market. And it's just when you do things like cry on the internet and complain, and people see this, and potential people that maybe might walk into a comic book store, they see this comic shop owner just being an a-hole and crying and complaining. Does that make they're not going to go to that, they're not going to pick up a book in general, because they're going to say, oh, this is a representation of what your community is. A guy crying.
And people they like latch onto that video and it goes viral, and then like the assumption is like, oh, every comic book reader is like that dude. Right? He's a shop owner. I bet you 9 out of 10 shop owners hate that guy. You know?
I hate that guy.
Yeah.
Because we're not like that.
Yeah. It's, you know what, man? Like, I'm just glad I don't own a shop, I guess, because like that would be like a mortgage broker talking upset about high interest rates, and versus like, why don't you look at it from getting someone that you work for or you represent a home for a great deal that they're happy about. You know, that's just, it's different perspective, right? I think 9 times out of 10, the person that's going to be more positive about what they can't control is going to make it out of the. And again, it's just adjustments, right? Real quick, I just want to plug myself. I got some eBay sales ending today. Specifically, you guys are probably going to be like, "What the fuck?" But I'm just moving on from this book. It's Blue Marvel 9.6.
That's crazy. Imagine they announced the Blue Marvel was going to be in like the Marvels movie.
It's a huge risk, right? But man, even if he's like announced 10 years from now,
I'm not gonna hold you. If that happens, I would laugh so hard.
I mean, y'all should, but take advantage of me, man. You know, like my personal thing about Blue Marvel is I had the trade paperback, so I'm good there, like as far as readership is. But it's just not one of those books that I'm like 10 years from now I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm so happy I hold this 9.6 Blue Marvel. So it's 251. It ends today, but I love the book too. I just need to get rid of it. I'm a 9.8 snob. I just want to get rid of it. But yeah, there's a bunch of other sales out there. So if you guys want to peruse through, yeah, go for it. Great show today. I don't think we got too hot about anything. I think it was a good discussion.
I think it's good too.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's more. I think if anyone guy. Oh, bro, I'm keeping that trade, man. I love that trade. I'll read the shit out of that trade, man. I don't even know where I found it, but I think it was a good discussion to have. I think a lot of people in the chat either got something out of it, or their perceptions were confirmed, or maybe it made them think of something else. What I got out of our discussion today is that Marvel and DC, as much as they try to adhere to like the younger generations, they're trying too hard. They either need to make an onset of like a different imprint that's like darker or more original, or they need to like make a kids section, which I don't think is going to happen. Or I think, or even more importantly, they need to focus on the characters that people like to read and make them readable again.
I like the Strange Academy.
Strange Academy faltered in finals. They should just kept the run going. I think they should have just done Strange Academy, what was it, 24, and just continued. That kind of upset me. I think Static is a great book to read. If you guys like a really original new buy Static, man. I love the new Static run. It's my favorite pull. Batman's doing great again. Chip Zdarsky. Anything Garth Ennis. What's that?
Yeah, Batman. I think Batman's always good, right? So
yeah, the James Tynion run was kind of weird, but this
I didn't like that. I didn't
like
that.
Yeah, this new run with Chip Zdarsky is like amazing. It's just really good reading.
James Tynion created some good characters, but like the story didn't really do.
It didn't make any sense. Yeah, that's why I'm not really a big James Tynion fan. But from obviously, from the boots on the ground with Fedora, like it sounds like kids are still reading books, and it sounds like they're a little more passionate than I was when I was a kid. So that's great. I think I think also a lot of this has to stem from people that were making a lot of money selling comic books during the pandemic, and either they're bitter or they're just not dealing with the truth and not moving on. I think some comic book shop owners are suffering too for whatever reason.
Everybody's suffering, bro. My homeboy, his skateboard store is closing down.
Yeah, it's not just comic books, man. It's everything. So
it's not. But during the pandemic, my homeboy's store, like he had like a huge boom with like skateboards. There's like a lot of new riders coming out, a lot of new kids getting interested into skateboarding and stuff like that. And then now even the retro game store I was telling you about, it was called that 8-bit and up. That was like a really nice place where you could go chill. They had like a arcade cabinet there with like an emulator set up. I used to take my ex-girlfriend's daughter there, and we used to spend some time in there. And with the shop owner, we used to talk. I used to buy games. So that place went out. It's a lot of. It's not just comic books, man. And I think that people need to just understand that, like, you either have to do something online, or you just have to figure out a way to make your shop more presentable to people. There's a lot of Gen Z kids that work at Forbidden Planet. They play good music. They got a good vibe. They carry everything. And I think that, like, that's cool. People, like, there is not a time where I haven't been to Forbidden Planet. And this is, like, the other big establishment.
Yeah, it's a good store. It's a great location too, man.
Yeah.
That's a really good location. I would say the one entertainment venue that has been prospering is video games. Nothing slowed that down, in my opinion. I'm really, and I personally like the adventure we've kind of talked about. Your Snatcher recommendations.
Yo, bro.
It's really fun, and Vinny comes through and he puts out some really good content as well. I think that's just a more entertaining and under-tapped market. Like, I don't think people are thinking of it. And I'll tell you what, as far as Gen X is concerned, or Gen Z is concerned, and Gen X, I guess you could throw that in there, they love fucking video games, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Nephews and nieces are asking for anything video game wise.
I don't really think that Gen Z really understands the whole concept of grading yet. But I don't. The weird thing is like graded video games. That whole thing like crashed, right? What with the Carl Jost video and all that other stuff. So I think for us old people, I think now is a good time to get some graded games, because once Gen Z or Generation Alpha, once they get old enough to understand the intricacies of grading and stuff like that, it could be good. But yo, you got to get a sealed copy of Snatcher.
I'll see, man. I mean, I got a house to rebuild here, man.
Don't worry about it.
Some shit.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Once you get the sealed copy of Snatcher, you could grade it. You could re-renovate your whole house with that shit, bro.
We'll see.
Have you seen a sealed one before?
No, I've never had, man.
Exactly.
Let's talk about it on the after show.
Okay.
All right. All right, guys. We will be coming back with the Ronin 5 show on Tuesday. And Fedora, I got to get with your schedule for next weekend. I'm going to respect your time and all that. But if you down to do a show next week, okay. Well, I'll hit you up.
We're doing a giveaway next weekend.
Okay, we're doing a show on next Sunday, Christmas Eve, for all you Christmas people.
And we got a Christmas One Piece giveaway.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I pre-ordered the book. I pre-ordered the book. It's coming in. It's a winter special cover of One Piece. And since CGC is grading these things now, apparently, I don't know why, it's a nice cover, and you could grade it. So
sick.
There you go.
It. Cool. Well, I guess we'll be on next Sunday. Yeah, Michael Baker, thanks again for everyone's support. Trying to get that 500 subs. We're almost there. Fedora, great show today. Great content. We'll see you all next week. But before then,
stop being a mook.
Stop being a mook. We're gonna make t-shirts.
If you're watching this, stop crying. Stop complaining. This is America. All right. If you want more money, go out and get money.
Yeah.
Strap up your bootstraps. Go outside and sling those comic books, man.
Knock on doors. Reset yourself, man. Put some TVs up. Yeah. Update your shit. Anyway.
Be the Cutco of comics.
Be the Cutco of comics. All right.
That's all right. Now I'm out. All right. That's it. We're done. That was the clip. Right. Goodbye.